Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhur Tatsavitrvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Sadgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityorma Mritam Gamya Om Sahnavavatu Sahnabhunaktu Saviryam Karvavahi Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavai Om Shanti 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 Om. Last Monday we finished a reading from Yog Vashisht Granth. And today we are going to just look at it. What did we learn from it? The original Yog Vashisht is a book that contains 32,000 verses. And those verses are in Sanskrit. And another name for Yog Vashisht is Brihad Yog Vashisht. Brihad, that means vast, big. Some people call it a Gyan Vashisht also. Then later on, this was condensed to 6,000 verses. And some of the teachers called it Laghu Yog Vashisht. Then it was further edited, which was called Laghu Tar, which had 1,000 verses. And then again it was condensed, Laghu Tam, which had 86 verses. We might be wondering how 32,000 verses can be abridged into 86 verses. Does it mean that the rest of the verses are unimportant? Not really. It is the style of the text that makes this editing possible. The Yog Vashisht is written in a Puranic style. That means a storytelling style. And it gives elaborate description of nature and the meeting of the students with the teachers. And as we saw, the stories are woven into stories. And these stories, they gave us various examples. But examples to explain the main principles, which as a practitioner, as a student, we need to keep in mind. Who wrote this big text? Rishi Valmiki. Rishi Valmiki composed Ramayana also. And the word yog over here really means, because the name of the scripture is Yog Vashisht, yog over here means uniting. That means unite the individual with the absolute. And that was the teachings of yoga, which was explained by Rishi Vashisht to Shri Ram. And that's why it's called Yog Vashisht. So the teachings are given by Rishi Vashisht, written by Rishi Valmiki. And Rishi Valmiki is the way the whole scripture is written, he is giving all those to Rishi Bhrigu. Let's look at some of the little bit of the background of Yog Vashisht also. In the Ramayana, which is a story of Shri Ram, written by Tulsidas ji, Valmiki ji. Neither of them gave the detail about the teaching of Vashisht ji to Shri Ram. So whether we pick up a Ramcharitmanas or a Valmiki's Ramayana, nor the circumstances that led to the dialogue which are elaborated upon. But both of these are expounded in Yog Vashisht. Upon graduation from the Gurukul, Shri Ram, along with his brothers Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughan, and also some friends and Brahmins, they all visited various holy places all over India, or I should say Bharatvarsh. On his return, Shri Ram became very withdrawn. He did not participate in any sports nor entertainment like music, dance, or drama. He preferred to be alone and did not even speak much. His brothers also became affected by his mood. His father, King Dashrath, was worried. He wondered what has come over my cheerful and enthusiastic son. He tried his best to bring Shri Ram out of his mood, but did not succeed. At around the same time, sage Vishwamitra was staying in Siddha ashram. And that is today's Patna. That's where the Siddha ashram was. He was unsuccessfully trying to perform a yajna. Why? Because the demons disturbed the yajna by throwing unholy materials over the sacrificial site. Having heard that the Lord had incarnated in Ayodhya as the son of King Dashrath, he went towards Ayodhya to seek his help in completing the yajna. Upon reaching Ayodhya, he was worshipfully received by King Dashrath. Dashrath said, I am overjoyed to see you. I feel blessed by your presence. Please tell me what brings you here. I shall immediately fulfill your wish. Sage Vishwamitra explained this predicament and requested the king to permit Shri Ram to come along and protect the yajna. As we all know, King Dashrath was very attached to Shri Ram, and he was shocked. He said, please ask for anything other than my son. And he is too young also and delicate to fight those terrible monsters. Vishwamitra got very angry that Dashrath was not allowing the Ram to go with him. He is not fulfilling his promise. And sage Vishwamitra was about to leave. At that time, Rishi Vashisht advised Dashrath not to anger Vishwamitra. And he also assured Dashrath that no harm would come to Shri Ram in the care of Vishwamitra. At that point, Ram was called to the court and instructed to go with Vishwamitra. Ram was a very obedient son, but he refused to comply on this occasion. He described his own state of mind. He refused to act when he was in such a confusion. He said, during my travels, I saw that everyone is suffering. The rich, the poor, young, and also the old. Everything in the world is perishing. There is nothing permanent. All pleasures are pain-ridden. Man is proud of his possessions, runs day and night after fleeting objects. I see no purpose in life. Who am I? What is the nature of this world? What is the purpose of human existence? I refuse to do anything till I get answers to these questions. He said, my mind is unprepared to make any decisions or undertake any actions. Rishi Vashisht and Vishwamitra were pleased by Shri Ram's words. They assured the worried king that Shri Ram was showing signs of true dispassion, which is called a vairagya. This vairagya is necessary for any seeker of truth. And Rishi Vishwamitra gives Shri Ram some words of advice and asks him to clarify his doubts from his Guru, Guru Vashisht, because he was very well qualified to do so. And Rishi Vashisht teaches Shri Ram in this great book. So that's why this dialogue between Shri Ram and Guru Vashisht is called Yog Vashisht. These teachings lasted for many days. And after being fully convinced and delighted, Shri Ram leaves with Vishwamitra. And we read about what happens in the forests after that. So from this great book, we get the knowledge about ourselves, the purpose of life, the nature of the world. We need this knowledge before entering our chosen field of actions. So this great big book has 6 chapters. These chapters are called Prakaran. Vairagya Prakaran, that is the first one. Because Vairagya is needed, that is like an initial requirement to walk on this path, Vairagya. Even in Bhagavad Gita, the very first chapter, Arjuna became Vairagya actually. Arjuna Vishad Yoga, the very first chapter, that is a detachment. He said it very clearly. Why should I kill all this? Why should I go into a war for this small kingdom? I don't even want to take the 3 worlds. That's Vairagya. Over here also, the first chapter, Vairagya Prakaran, describes the state of dispassion. With the help of many stories, but the underneath message is cultivate Vairagya. The second chapter, Mumukshu Vyavhar Prakaran, that shows the desire for liberation. Liberation from all bondages. Because bondage is the slavery to our own mind. So, Mumukshu Vyavhar Prakaran. The third chapter is called Utpatti Prakaran. It speaks of creation of the world. Just like again in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talked about the kshetra also, not just the kshetrakya only. He talked about the gyan and the vigyan also. The same thing over here with the help of these beautiful stories. Utpati Prakaran. What is this creation of this world where we have come into? Chapter number 4 is called Sthiti Prakaran. This describes how the world is sustained. Sthiti. Chapter number 5 is Upsham Prakaran. This describes the dissolution of the world. And the last chapter, Nirvana Prakarana, talks about liberation. So again, the Vairagya Prakaran, Mumukshu Vyavahar Prakaran, Utpati Prakaran, Sthiti Prakaran, Upsham Prakaran, and Nirvana Prakaran. Through all these topics which are mentioned in these chapters, the main theme is self-knowledge. Self-knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjun requests the Lord Krishna to clear his own confusions. So over there, the God is the Guru, the student is a highly qualified person, well versed in the scriptures, but at the time of that tough point in his life, he gets confused. But this passion is there. Here it is the Lord or Shri Ram shows the confusion and he is seeking the answers from Rishi Vashisht. Normally, students do not know what to ask. Because in order to ask the questions also, we need some knowledge. They don't even know how to convey the confusion. Generally, students ask questions regarding immediate problems. And they're also seeking quick remedies without deep thinking. But over here in Yog Vashisht, it's the Lord himself is asking the questions. That's why the inquiries are deep and very meaningful. And there are innumerable questions. That's why there's 32,000 verses. That's where they came from. Several questions were asked regarding the individual, regarding this world, its relationship, purpose, the truth. So Yoga Vashisht is a great treasure of knowledge and a lot of stories. It covers almost the entire philosophical thought of the Hindu culture. We need to contemplate on certain verses for our own self-realization. We got to see, dig deeper into our own mind. What are our questions? What is holding us back? We hear it again and again. We are the ansh of that anshi, but how come we don't recognize it? What is the cause of our bondage? Whether we pick up Bhagavad Gita, Vivek Chudamani, or Yog Vashisht, they all talk about the same thing actually. That's why we need to see why these truths are repeated again. What does it mean for us? Personally, what I get from this great scripture is sure, stories are beautiful, meaningful, but one big thing which we get from this is, which is repeated in Yog Darshan by Rishi Patanjali also, to check our own growth, to see whether there is any difference in us while we are practicing this yoga sadhana, which we call it. Because this is a yogic scripture. Patanjali Sutras are yogic scriptures. Our goal is yoga, to become one with God. So in this great scripture, in chapter 5, those stages of evolvement are given. And he called them Saptabhumi, the 7 stages. So if we can just remember this and check our own progress based upon these 7 stages and make sure that we are climbing up and up and up, then we will get something from this scripture. Because it's obvious that we cannot suddenly reach a state of realization from a state of utter ignorance. It is possible to have an overnight transformation in our outlook about life, or sometimes we can change our conduct, but it is impossible to know the truth without preparing our mind. Because the sadhana is the sadhana with the help of the mind. And mind which has been traveling with the soul, or I should say soul with the mind, for countless lifetimes. It has gathered a lot of impressions. So in order to prepare this mind for that flight, we got to check it out. Those who have not yet begun the spiritual journey, sure, they wonder where to begin, which is the right track, or which is the right path. Others want to know how far they have progressed and if they will ever reach the final destination. Some others doubt that they may be going around in circles because they really do not see any change within for the benefit of all the seekers, these masters. They have described the stages of spiritual progress. And that's what personally I think I get from this scripture. So 7 states are spoken of not for judging others, but to test ourselves and look within ourselves. The first stage is when we are just starting out. It's called a Shubhecha. Rishi Vashisht told Shri Ram, ज्ञानस्य भूमिका नाम त्वम अध्ये निर्वचनम शृणु किम मूढ़ः इव तिष्ठामि प्रेक्षे अहम शास्त्र सज्जना वैराग्य पूर्वकम इच्छा इति शुभ इच्छा इति उच्यते बुद्धे. This is that Sanskrit words from Yog Vashisht. Vashisht said, listen now to the description of the steps of obtaining knowledge. Why do I live like a deluded being? So when you start asking yourself this question, I am looked upon by the scriptures and virtuous people. I shall seek their company. So this is the desire when it arises. So this type of desire preceded by dispassion is called Shubh Icha, auspicious wish. Shubh means auspicious, Icha is the wish. So that means there comes a stage in life when a person feels there's no meaning to my life. Why I am engaged in fruitless actions all the time? I am totally deluded and confused. I want to get out of all this. And how can I do that? When this kind of a desire arises in the mind, and these kind of thoughts erupt, they lead a person to the scriptures and the company of the good people, because you start looking for those kind of books, scriptures and the people. A person realizes that the words of the scriptures and the saints are for me. You take it personally. You understand that they are talking to you. The saints also wonder why we live the way we do. And when we are in the company of a saint, then we recognize that. In Kathopanishad, we learned these great words, Uttishta Jagrat Prapya Varan Nibhodat. Arise, awake, seek the truth. So these words, they speak to us then, that we need to realize our true nature. We got to listen to the scriptures. We need to reflect upon those words spoken by the saints. We need to meditate on the truth. Uttisht Jagrat Prapya Varan Nibodhat. So these kind of sayings, they inspire us to change our ways of living and thinking. This dispassion towards our lifestyle, current lifestyle, or you can call it a worldly pleasures, along with the desire for seeking the company of the saints, listening to the scriptures, and wanting to transform ourselves is the first state of spiritual maturity, which Rishi Vashisht called Shubhecha, auspicious wish. So if this has arisen in our mind, that means we have put our foot on the first step on this ladder. There are people who are still asleep and they don't wish to be waken up. And there are people, even though asleep, think or pretend to be awake. And there are people who really want to wake up from their state of ignorance, can be awakened by others. Once this desire to change arises, then that person gets started on the spiritual journey. The desire has to be there, because as we all know, desire is first desire, then thoughts come, then action. Because desire is subtler than the thoughts. Thoughts we are familiar with, the subtle desires we are not. So we got to cultivate these desires in us. Remember, its journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Once we begin, we shall reach the final destination sooner or later. Most of us only have a problem of starting. Once we start, we are pushed forward willingly or sometimes unwillingly. So we got to put our first step firmly. Because our own thoughts will not allow us to sit quietly after that. However, a mere wish alone does not bring about an actual transformation. What does or where does a person reach from here? What do we need to do? Because we don't want to keep sitting and desiring that I want to meet saintly people, I want to read the scriptures. We have to find a guru, look for a guru, pick up those scriptures, do something about it. And Rishi Vashisht called this stage, the second stage, Vicharna. So Shubh Ichha is the first one, second one is Vicharna. Shastra Sajjan Sampark Vairagya Abhyas Purvakam Sadachar Pravriti Yaprochyate Sa Vicharna. So preceded by the association with the scriptures. So that means you have to read those scriptures, hold them in your hand, spend some time, be in the company of those scriptures. So preceded by the association with the scriptures and virtuous people also. We have to spend time with those virtuous people. And again, Lord Krishna called that a tapasya of the body. To get out of our comfort zone and spend time with the Guru. That is a tapasya of the body. And the practice of dispassion, the inclination towards righteous conduct is called reflection or investigation. Vicharna. If we are wearing dirty clothes, if there's a more dirt on it, we don't mind. But if we are wearing clean clothes, we are very conscious of any dirty spots. We'll even do everything to remove in case there's any kind of a dirt on it. If someone else points out our dirty state, we may feel hurt or angry. But if we ourselves become conscious, we silently and promptly remove the dirt. And that's what vicharna is. Looking at our own flaws. There are flaws in our personality. It's like one of the flaws, violence. Sometimes we think that we are not violent. But we got to go deeper into it. There are several kinds of violence. And that violence does not let us go towards this ultimate truth. We all know there could be a violence committed by us physically, verbally, or mentally. Through kaya, through vacha, or manasa. These three. And each one of them can be different degrees. They can be mridu, madhyam, or ati. And if you multiply 3 times 3, how many? 9. 9 kinds of violence. Violence can be caused by krodh, lobh, or moh. Krodh is the anger, lobh is the greed, moh is the delusion. Though they could be the causes of violence. And if you multiply 9 by 3 now, how many types of violence? 27. Then again, if you look deeper into it, Rishi Patanjali talks about this violence. He says it could be krit karita anumodita. Either you do it yourself, or you allow others to do it, or make others to do it. How many types of violence now? 81 types. And this is just one of the flaws. So we have to dig deeper into our personality and see where do we stand. Are we a true practitioners? Or are we pretending to be a practitioner and hoping to reach up there? So this was just a one little example of one of the qualities which we need to cultivate. Rishi Patanjali talks about it that ahimsa, the very first one. Then comes the satya, asteya, brahmacharya, so many other qualities. So the mind rendered relatively pure by shubhecha becomes conscious of its own weaknesses. Bad conduct, evil propensities, wrong notions, misguided feelings, and also prejudices. So again, if somebody else points it out, that you are such and such, we don't like it. So that's why Rishi Vashisht says, look within, check it out. Where do you stand? Only then we can put forth efforts to remove the kinks of our own personality. Then we make a resolve to live a clean and healthy life. Healthy life is making a promise to yourself that I shall not get angry. I will follow what scriptures tell me. I will rise early and meditate. I shall live a life of selfless service to mankind. Any promise you make to yourself. Because these thoughts should enter our mind if we are a seeker. Only then we can engage in the spiritual practices like worship, study of the scriptures, satsang, etc. And all that should be done with a greater enthusiasm and devotion if we want to see some improvement. Then mind becomes deeply reflective and it spends more time thinking over the words of the scriptures and the Guru. This introspective state is called vicharana. Or you can call it a manan. So shubh ichha and vicharna. So we'll continue with this next week, and I'll go through the rest of the stages also. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.